Welcome to Veteran Resource Podcast, where you will meet nonprofit organizations focused on improving the lives of veterans and their family members. Here is your host, Jeremy Paris.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 111 of the Veteran Resource Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Paris. Today on the podcast, we have Jennifer Watson and Julie Riggs from ServingTogether. This is a local nonprofit here in the Maryland, D.C. area, but they are doing amazing things with helping to get the resources out to veterans and their family members. Jennifer Watson is ServingTogether's veteran peer navigator. She proudly served in the United States Air Force and is an OIF/OEF service-connected combat veteran. She understands the needs of the veteran community and has made it her mission to provide support and resources to her fellow veterans and their families. Jennifer received her Bachelors of Science degree in Criminal Justice at the University of Baltimore, as well as her Masters of Science degree in Forensic Science, High-Tech Crimes. Julie Riggs is ServingTogether's program manager. She brings to the position a boots-on-the-ground perspective with over 10 years' experience working with military and veterans in the nonprofit sector. As the wife of a United States Naval Chief Petty Officer, she is dedicated to providing our nation's veterans and families access to the tools and resources they need. Julie holds a BA in English from San Jose State University in California. ServingTogether was created to simplify access to the wealth of resources and veterans organizations in the National Capital Region and beyond that were created for those who have served and their families. Obviously, I am in direct alignment with what Jennifer and Julie are doing with ServingTogether. So this was a fun episode for me. Without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Jennifer, Julie, welcome to the Veteran Resource Podcast. How are you doing today?
Great, thank you.
Great, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. I can't wait to find out more about ServingTogether. Let's start off actually with a brief description. What is ServingTogether?
Sure. Well, ServingTogether is a program of EveryMind, which is a nonprofit organization based out of Rockville, Maryland. And our purpose is to connect military, veterans, and their families to local resources.
Very cool. And we're going to get into a deep dive of that in a bit. Before we do, I wanted to get a little bit of background on both of you so the listeners know who they're talking to. So let's start off with Julie. Julie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I am the wife of an active duty Chief Petty Officer in the Navy. I also was raised with a father who was a Chief Petty Officer in the Navy. I've had a lot of military experience, if you will. About 15 years ago, started working in military nonprofits with the National Military Family Association and really just found a passion for working to help connect our military, our veterans, and our families to programs and resources that will, assist them in whatever their needs are. As I was doing that, I also realized there were a lot of programs duplicating services, and it became really sort of a vision of mine to reduce that duplication and see that people work together to work more effectively, more efficiently. So I luckily stumbled on a program that does that, and I'm kind of really glad to be in my dream job. But, my husband's active duty. We've traveled all over. It's been a pleasure to work next to him and to serve as his wife while we go through this kind of journey. It's never a dull moment. And I've been with ServingTogether about 2.5 years.
Excellent. And Jennifer, how about you?
Hi, yes. So my name is Jennifer. I am an 8-year Air Force veteran. I was medically discharged right after my last tour in Iraq. I came back, went ahead, went to college, got a master's degree in cybersecurity, but I still also, like Julie, had that passion to serve my fellow veterans. I was given the opportunity to go through the system myself and figure out how it's done. And it can be such a pain, and there are a lot of gaps. So my role as peer navigator here for ServingTogether is to fill those gaps, to provide my own unique experience and knowledge to the veterans and their families to help them get through the system just like I did.
Excellent. And the organization itself, or the program itself, ServingTogether, how did that get started?
Sure. Well, about 7 years ago, EveryMind runs the Montgomery County Crisis Hotline. And we were seeing an uptick of calls coming in from veterans and military in the area looking for resources. And right around that same time in Montgomery County, there was discussion at county levels of whether or not we had the resources available to the service members returning from Afghanistan and Iraq to Walter Reed Bethesda. Some of them would be staying in the area or would be here for long term. And Montgomery County was taking a look at whether or not there were programs in existence in place to support that population. What came out of that, as well as a study that was done, was that there were plenty of actually programs around. There was a wealth of programs available. Navigating to those programs was where the challenge existed for the service member and the veteran and their families. And so because Everymind was already sort of doing this resource directory for veterans who were calling into the hotline, it sort of just came together that we all started working with Montgomery County government, Health and Human Services, ServingTogether and Everymind to create a program that really coordinated services for the veterans that we were working with.
That's really great. That's one of the things that I notice. I mean, that's why I have the podcast also is there's no set one way of doing things when you get out of the military. Every veteran getting out is different. And, you know, some are having some issues with health. Some are having some issues with finances or housing. And some are looking for camaraderie or they're looking to continue to serve in their community. So there's so many different organizations out there, which I think is incredible. I love that there's all of these organizations and that each one has its own niche that they're filling. But there's not a great way when somebody comes out of the military for them to find out about these.
Exactly.
When a veteran contacts your organization, what is the process like for them?
So Jeremy, what they're going to do is call the peer navigator, which is myself. We also have another office in Northern Virginia. That office houses a Virginia peer navigator. Her name is Danielle Jackson. So basically, when they call me, I get some general information from them. If they are in Maryland, then I continue to work for them. If they were in Virginia, then, I transfer them to Danielle. Really, my job is to get the basic information, their service time, their specific needs. And a lot of times when the veteran does call, they are in crisis. So they've either just lost their house or they have been sleeping on the streets for days, weeks, or even months. They have absolutely no money. Their utilities are shut off. So I really just try to talk to them, calm them down a little bit, hear their side of the story, and get them connected as fast as possible to an organization that can help them.
Are you guys adding new resources, I guess, as you find them for those areas?
We do. In fact, we just recently started diving into Prince George's County, and through that, we were able to gather brand new resources from that county that we didn't know existed. Also, a lot of times the veterans actually give me resources that they've used in the past, and they'll say, hey, this place helped me, you might want to go ahead and add them, and we vet them and start using them ourselves.
That's great. And that's how I end up finding most of my guests for the podcast. The same thing. I'll talk to somebody from one organization and they'll say, hey, did you hear about this other one? And now I've got a warm lead that I know that they're actually doing good things.
Yeah, the veteran organizations, we're very close. We really try to help each other out. It's a community that if we didn't have each other, we would never succeed. ServingTogether can't succeed on its own. The other organizations can't do it either. So with each other's help and referrals and assistance, it really makes for a nice, tight-knit service.
Geographically, you said you're located in Montgomery County for Maryland and then Virginia. Is it just those two locations?
Our offices are in Rockville and Tyson's Corner, but we serve the D.C. metro area, D.C. region. We are also in Frederick County. We have a presence up there. As Jennifer said, we have been serving veterans from Prince George's County, but we haven't ever really kind of moved into that county officially until now. So now we are actually expanding into that county. the district itself, and then the about 5 counties in Northern Virginia that you would consider sort of DC region, DMV area.
Very nice. Aside from local resources, are you also connecting with national organizations?
Yeah, we have. So our website, which is ServingTogetherProject.org, has a resource directory on it. So if someone maybe didn't need to or want to speak to a peer navigator or wanted to start with resources, they could go there. And on that website, you'll see national organizations listed, as well as regional, as well as county organizations. But one of the things we do make sure that we do here is we could load our website with a bunch of national organizations that say they serve veterans, but unless we've really worked with them and have a main point of contact and kind of sat down with them and talked about what they do and what their criteria are, we don't put them on our website, because we refer to places that we ourselves as veterans and military spouses would use. It may not be the biggest resource database, but the ones that are on there are ones that we could pick up a phone and speak to a person that we know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like that. Do you have plans on continuing to grow and move beyond the locations that you currently have?
Yes, I'd say for the time being, probably for our 2-year plan, we're looking at really getting our feet in deep in all the areas that we are currently in. So making sure that we have a really solid foundation in Prince George's County, as well as Washington, D.C., which is the 2 that we're sort of, we've just sort of expanded to before we go beyond that. So right now, our vision is the D.C. metro area, but I could see us covering more of like Maryland or even farther down towards Hampton Roads or something in Virginia at some point. We're actually in the process of really looking at software platforms that are going to help us to grow our program even more with the technology available. One of the things we do, so this program really grew organically out of a need, and then it just sort of became something that was in Montgomery County, and then there was a need in Northern Virginia, and they saw that we had done the work, and the Community Foundation Northern Virginia granted us some funding to go and expand, and so we did that. But it really is sort of a boots on the ground type of work. We go into a place, we start going to meetings at the chamber, at the county level, at whatever, with other nonprofits. And in every area that we go into, if there's not one in existence, we start up what's known as a Veterans Collaborative. And that is a meeting where we bring together the service providers, the county and government, if there's an active duty military base, some base representatives, or together every other month to talk about what the needs are, where there's gaps in services, what the trends are, what we as a collaborative might be able to accomplish in terms of an action item. So we get together to try and really wrap that community around the veterans we serve.
Very nice. Without giving any specifics, like you don't have to give out any names or anything like that, could you kind of throw out there maybe a success story or two, how people have been helped?
So as peer navigator, we have quite a few successes. Typically, we'll get family members. Sometimes their veteran may be in a PTSD clinic, and the PTSD clinic is not close to home. So what we've been able to do is provide gift cards for the family to drive and see the veteran, maybe get a hotel to see a veteran. We've been able to provide childcare services for mothers who are left at home while their service members is getting the help they need. We've been able to do Christmas presents, food donations for the holidays, help for back rent so someone can stay in their apartment. So some of those are some of our more successful stories that we've had the past year.
I have one. So Jeremy, before I became the program manager for Maryland, I started out as the peer navigator in the program. And I always love to tell this story because it just warms my heart. We had a gentleman who was formerly homeless. He was in the Veteran Safe Haven program, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but he was going through that program and gotten the help that he needed. And he had also gotten attached to a HUD VASH voucher. And he had been awarded one, and he was going to be, starting to move out of the program and into his first home in like 5 years. He'd been street homeless for several years. And he came to Serving Together because his car had broken down, and he needed help getting the repairs paid for because he needed his car to go house hunting. And so we were able to connect him to a wonderful fund here in Montgomery County that was able to provide the cost for his car repairs and get his car back. And so that was all that, and shook hands and said, thanks, have a nice time, glad everything's going well. And about 3 months later, he called us and he said, okay, I found my apartment. I'm all set to move in, but I have some stuff in a storage unit in Prince George's County, and his apartment was in Northwest DC. And he said, and I don't have any ability to get it from point A to point B. And so we connected with Team Rubicon. Awesome. They rented a U-Haul and brought donuts, which was, the best part of the whole thing, and met us at 7 a.m. at the gentleman's, storage unit. And we all loaded up the truck because they brought volunteers as well, and moved this gentleman into his new apartment in D.C. And, by noon we were eating donuts and drinking coffee, and that was that. And so that kind of just shows you like how we work collaboratively with other organizations to get the job done.
That's fantastic. I love hearing stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's really why I ask the questions. It's personally for me. It's selfishly, I just want to hear all of these great success stories.
Yeah.
A lot of veterans hear things like this and they feel like, well, I'm not really bad off.
Right.
I'm okay. I don't, sure, things are not great, but I'm not as bad off as some of these other people. So I'm not going to look for any help. Any advice for those people?
I get those calls a lot, Jeremy, and a lot of times they're very hesitant and reluctant to ask for help or get help. And they always think they're not as bad as somebody else. They don't deserve benefits like somebody else. And what I always tell them is, you do deserve this. You served your country just like the next guy. Let's get this taken care of before a situation gets out of hand or out of control. Asking for help takes a lot more strength than just ignoring a problem and letting it go. All veterans deserve benefits. It doesn't matter what branch you served in or if you were in combat or not. You served your country, and you honestly deserve to take advantage of the programs that are out there to help when you need help.
Absolutely. And I think also, Jeremy, for veterans who maybe aren't in crisis or don't have maybe a pressing issue, if you will, think about when you've started a new job, maybe if you've ever switched career paths. It's all about sort of learning a new language. It's not that you don't know something, it's that you haven't been around and you haven't learned the dialogue of the conversation around. And I think of it that way when it comes to serving together. We speak veteran programs. And so if you're, let's say, thinking about refinancing your home, but you want to talk to someone who knows something about VA loans, because that's, oh, by the way, what you used when you financed your home the first time, you could call us and just say, hey, have you run into anybody in your meetings and collaboratives that happens to know X, Y, and Z about refinancing? And probably 9 times out of 10, we have run into that person who's passionate about that, and they want to help veterans, get into the right house or make sure they have the right financial planning in place. And so it's not just crisis. It is definitely, if you're going to walk down a path you've not walked down before, give us a shout. Let us, ask us the questions, and probably we'll be able to find someone who can talk to you intelligently about what you're about to do.
Yeah. Great advice. And something else that I found is people that feel like there's always people that are, worse off than them, so they don't want to hog up all of the benefits. Right. These people, when they get that little bit of help that they need and they get back to being totally good, they usually end up trying to find ways to help the people who are worse off than them. So a lot of times they'll get that help, and then they'll start volunteering with that same organization that helped them, or with another veteran organization. And so with that, do you take in volunteers?
Yeah, so we have in the past had volunteers on specific projects, but it would be much more like office-related administrative, or like, we need you to help us with our scrub of our website resources. A very specific task. Since we don't do sort of a direct service program in terms of like out in the community doing, a project or something, we don't usually have those type of volunteer opportunities. That being said, though, that is definitely something that we as a program have really been looking at, because we absolutely agree that our military or our veterans in our community are some of our best assets and the greatest assets that we can use. And so we're looking as a program to find meaningful ways to bring in volunteers, because I don't want to just have someone come in here and file. If I'm going to ask a volunteer to come in, I want to be able to use some of the things that they bring from their experience in life and from their experience in the military to help us as a program, you know?
Right,
so,
right.
So the short answer is, at the moment, we don't have a lot of opportunity, but it's something that we hope to be growing in the next year or so.
Excellent. And that's something, too, that if you're consolidating these resources of other organizations in your area, it's quite possible that they have a need for volunteers for some activity. So somebody coming to you saying, can I volunteer to help Serving Together? It might be, well, yes, Team Rubicon actually this week has this going on, and through you, they can get connected.
Exactly. And that's kind of what we're looking at, is like the way that we coordinate connections to other organizations for services, we would coordinate connection to other organizations for volunteer opportunities. Yeah.
Excellent. And how do the listeners out there get in contact with you?
Sure. So they can go on our website, which is ServingTogetherProject.org, or they can call our peer navigators, which is 1-855-738-7176. And I do want to say that even though it's an 855 number, it is actually answered by a human being, and that's just how we go through and screen whether or not they go to Jennifer or Danielle.
Perfect. People love hearing that. Okay, I think we are ready for the final 3 questions.
Oh, no. Okay.
Okay, question number 1. Who would you like to hear on a future episode of the Veteran Resource Podcast?
So I think who would be important, a couple of my ideas would be Vet Safe Haven here in Montgomery County. They do wonderful work with homeless veterans, providing them stable housing. Leah Lyons, who's the program director over there, she does amazing work with our homeless veteran population, getting them connected with the VA, getting them started with their benefits, making sure their medications are filled and they have transportation to and from their appointments, and they're actually in the process of recovery, whether it be substance abuse or mental health issues. It's a wonderful program.
Yep.
Excellent. I will reach out to Leah and see if I can connect and get her on this show. This would be great.
That's great.
Okay, question number 2. What upcoming project has you fired up right now?
I would say really our expansion into Prince George's County, as well as into Washington, D.C. specifically. We realize Prince George's County has the largest population of veterans in the D.C. metro area, and some of the fewer number of resources. And so we're very excited to try and come in there and work collaboratively with not only veteran serving organizations, but faith-based organizations and the local government and other nonprofits to see if we can't provide a wraparound coordination of services for those veterans. So we're really excited about that expansion.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I lived in Prince George's for a while. I'm up in Carroll County now myself.
Oh, okay. Hey, have you been connected to their veteran commission?
Yeah,
commission.
I just got a introduction from somebody else from the Howard County Chamber that I ran into. So I will be connecting, yes.
That's great. They're doing amazing work up in Carroll County. They've basically stepped outside the box and kept going and wrapped circles around the box. I mean, they're just really making stuff happen. And
they're very strong. It's a very strong
excellent
commission. I mean, they have a lot of people on board. It's really nice to see.
Yeah, that's great, too. There's a lot of people moving up here from the Fort Meade area. They're getting out and they're coming up here. So, yeah, that's great to hear. Okay, question number 3, the brain stretcher. If you woke up tomorrow and you found out that somebody made an anonymous donation of $10 million to your organization, what would you do with it?
So as peer navigator, Jeremy, this one is quite easy for me to answer. I get a lot of phone calls for financial assistance. Unfortunately, some of the veterans or widows that call me do not qualify for typical services, even county services, and it's very hard to find them money. And sometimes they just need one donation of money and they would be set. And I would absolutely use that money to go through and be able to give people that money that call. If they're behind on rent, if they need cell phone assistance, storage fees, car assistance, that's what I would go ahead and use it for those veterans and family members that don't qualify for typical services.
Excellent. I love that. And so for that person out there who has that $10 million or, a little bit less maybe, and you want to donate and help out Serving Together, what is the best way for them to get in contact with you one more time?
Okay. They can give us a call at 1-855-738-7176, or they can jump online to ServingTogetherProject.org, and they can email us directly from the staff Who We Are web pages.
Excellent. Excellent. And I will make sure that I put that in the show notes, make it super easy for people to find too.
Great. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well, Jennifer, Julie, thank you for coming on the show. This has been a great conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Veteran Resource Podcast. As always, you can go and check out the show notes at veteranresourcepodcast.com/111. And from there, you can follow the links and get connected with Serving Together and get plugged in with them. Also, please go and check out the Patreon page. You can find that at patreon.com/Jeremy Paris. And thank you to all of the patrons that are helping this podcast to continue. That's all I have for you today. I will see you tomorrow for episode 112.